Welcome to the Off Tackle with John Fina show on the Overreaction Sports Network.
Evening, everyone, and welcome to the Sahlen's Off Tackle Show, solo edition with me, John Fina, presented by FanDuel. Thanks for joining me today, and I look forward to bringing you some nice content about our beloved Buffalo Bills, the changes that are going on at One Bills Drive, Joe Brady actively building out his coaching staff, and adding some people to the coaching roster from the defensive side of the ball, offensive side of the ball, mostly stacking up on defense right now. We'll talk about that, those people who are joining that coaching staff. Also, we're going to dig in a little bit with what to do upcoming regarding Conor McGovern and David Edwards, your starting center and guard for the Buffalo Bills. We'll start. Why don't we start with the coaching staff? It's a little bit of an easier nut to crack, and we'll dig right into that. Coming over from the Giants, with that staff having been released, is inside linebackers coach. I'll get this right. John Egorugiu. Probably comes to us with a nickname. Important about John is he was with the Bills in 2017, and now he'll be the inside linebackers coach. So there's a young addition to the staff on the defensive side of the ball. Jim Leonhard obviously reaching out, finding the guys that fit his philosophy, and he's making his picks to build his staff. As starting with inside linebackers coach John Egorugiu. Additionally, we've got a co-defensive coordinator with Jay Valai. Jay will also be coaching the DBs. He comes to us from the collegiate ranks. So young guy, probably very approachable in theory for our young cornerbacks. He's as per Jerry Ostrowski, who's very close to Oklahoma athletics, living in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They ran at Oklahoma quite a bit of zone and man. So he's got the ability to coach both techniques, which, in my opinion, if you're going to have a Jim Leonhard defense that's extremely downhill and attacking, you're going to have to play man-to-man. You're going to have to play some press man, and you're going to have to be strong in those techniques. Obviously, the reason is when you're bringing pressure and the offense picks it up, those guys are out there on an island. So we're going to bring Jay Valai in to work those cornerbacks up to speed, up to skills, and be able to back up any kind of pressure packages that Jim Leonhard happens to call during the game. Next edition, outside linebackers, Bobby April III. And if you can believe it, I knew the senior Bobby April. He coached at the University of Arizona, spent a lot of time college coaching, a great guy. So there's a great lineage there. Bobby April III comes from most recently Stanford. He was with the Bills in 2015, 2016. Another young guy joining the staff. So that's encouraging, I think, to see younger coaches joining the ranks in the NFL, bringing a little bit of that college mindset, that attacking, and of course, a lot of the technique-driven things that they can bring from the college football ranks. When you think of college football, they take a lot of pressure. So on the edges at cornerback, you've really got to work your man techniques. So Jay Valai will certainly be the guy who's going to bring those coverage techniques, responsibilities, and all that coaching to our corners and nickels and even to the safeties when they're covering tight ends one-on-one or running backs coming out of the backfield. Bobby April will be having the outside linebackers. Now they'll, in this defense, likely be some drops to curl and flat. Certainly they'll have some man coverage responsibilities from time to time, and he brings his expertise from Stanford University. We reviewed already the offensive line coach, Pat Meyer. He's got a very, very strong history in the NFL. Also comes from the Aaron Kromer coaching tree. He did spend some time with Aaron Kromer in the Buffalo Bills in the teens. He coached was the offensive line coach for the Chargers, for Carolina, and most recently from Pittsburgh. So those are our new additions. Obviously, you guys can ping us back at the Overreaction Buffalo Podcast Network. Give us your opinions, and it's flying all over Twitter. Everybody's got an opinion. I like the idea of bringing in quite a bit of youth to this coaching staff. It just generationally, I think it's naturally brings in a great energy. So give us your comments. This is the Off Tackle Show presented by Sahlen's. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of word about Sahlen's Deli Meats. Sahlen's, of course, is the #1 hot dog in Western New York. It's a 5-generation company, over 150 years in Buffalo, providing incredible deli meats, hot dogs, and we like to say at Sahlen's that it's always hot dog season. You can put them on the grill when the weather's nice. You can fry them up in a pan, cover them up with sauerkraut, Weber's mustard, chili sauce, cheese, however you like them. Sahlen's hot dogs, they always snap. Thanks for supporting the Off Tackle Show. Sahlen's Off Tackle Show with me, John Fina, running the show solo today. Going to be probably a little bit of a quick hit. Don't have Jerry or Joe to bounce anything off of. We're not going to review any film. Right now, we're going to a little bit about the situation that Pat Meyer is going to be confronted with his center, Conor McGovern, and David Edwards at left guard. How are they going to approach this? So there's a number of different aspects that we're going to cover, but let's take a look preliminarily just about where a player's mindset is. So we all know you don't play offensive line into your 40s, 50s, and 60s like you and I out there in our jobs right now, right? This is a limited window when you can earn in the NFL. So obviously you are going to do everything you can to maximize your contract. And as my agent told me way back when, you don't need every team to love you. You only need one, a team with money and with a big need. So as we look around the league, why don't we start with Conor McGovern first and talk about some of the center salaries that are actually being paid out there right now. The #1 center in the league by virtue of contract is Creed Humphreys over at Kansas City, and he averages $18 million a year. But, sorry, I should step back. Conor McGovern right now on a 3-year deal, previously on a 3-year deal at 22.35, $7 million average, 7.45 million average. So now we talk about Creed at being at 18 average. The Lions, Frank Ragnow at 13.5, which is a pretty big drop from the top to #2. Tennessee's Lloyd Cushenberry, he's at 12.5. The Colts, Ryan Kelly at 12.4. He plays, of course, alongside of Quentin Nelson, who is top 5 guard by salary in the NFL. The Saints, Eric McCoy at $12 million, and Washington's Tyler Biadasz at $10 million. And then rounding it out, as far as I went down, Andre James at Las Vegas, he's making $8 million a year. So Conor McGovern, if you look at his production, at his athleticism, at his command of the offensive play calling, And that includes identifying fronts, identifying personnel changes, understanding who the offensive line is responsible for, not just in pass protection, but in run blocking combination schemes. How has Conor McGovern done? And I would say that after losing Mitch Morse, there was a great deal of anxiety about Conor McGovern taking over. And unequivocally, you can say that Conor McGovern has done a fantastic job at the center position. However, does he jump into that top 5 money makers at the position across the league? That's the question, right? Do you believe that he is a top 5 or 10 guy in salary? Now, the good news for the Bills is probably at around 10 is almost where McGovern sits right now by average annual salary. So a little bump up is potentially achievable. So where the Bills stack up in this, and of course, contracts can be, a lot of money up front with smaller salaries. They work that salary cap in multiple different ways. Do I think that Conor McGovern should be in the top 4 or 5 at 10 million and above average salary? No, I don't. And I'll tell you why, just based on a couple of different items. The first one is, who do we have waiting in the wings? We've got Cedric Van Pran Granger, who played extremely well against the Jets in the final game at Highmark Stadium. So you can look at a guy like Cedric and say, we can save cap money. We can get a similar product by moving on from Conor McGovern. That's item number one. Do you have confidence in Cedric Van Pran Granger? And I think that the Bills are teetering on that potential idea. The second point is, how does he really stack up against his peers in the top 10? From the Bills' perspective only, is the value there for the Bills to make him a top 8, 9, 10 paid center in the league? And I would argue no. I look at the list of guys who are above him in average salary, and I see them being a little bit more athletic, a little bit stronger in their technique. I think Conor McGovern is very good, but I don't know that you want to dedicate salary, especially at this time when we are looking to sign some playmakers and some key positions on both sides of the ball. Can you afford to pay Conor McGovern on average $11 to $13 million a year? And I'm in the corner of, it might be time to move on from Conor McGovern. So that's where I stand on that. Take it or leave it. Hit me up on X at John Fina. Hit Jerry Ostrowski up and let him know what you think. Heck, even hit Joe Miller up and harass him a little bit. Send me a DM. Tell me I'm crazy or not. But that's where I stand on Conor McGovern. Great player. I just don't know if he's the guy that moves up to that level of play. At this time, I'd like to say, if you love your chicken wings, and of course we all do, head on over to the Anchor Bar. Anchor Bar is a proud sponsor of the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network. And we all know when you say Buffalo Bills, the first thing you think of is football. The second thing you think of is chicken wings. And then other people who haven't lived there, who love the city like we do, think about the weather. But if you're tuckered in at home, anywhere where it's cold, and you don't have an Anchor Bar franchise near you that you can get to safely right now, then order them online. They'll ship them directly to you. You can order up the sauces. You can order up the wings, fry up the wings, bake up the wings, get them anytime, any way you want, and pour that incredible Anchor Bar wing sauce on top of your wings and enjoy. Heck, I like to make my own blue cheese because I just don't find that the blue cheese in the store measures up to Anchor Bar blue cheese. But thank you, Anchor Bar, for sponsoring the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network. Find a location near you, and if you can't find one, order those wings online and dig in and enjoy. Again, John Fina, Sahlen's Off Tackle Show. I'm going solo. And the next item that we get to talk about is David Edwards. All right. I got a little bit to say about David Edwards. To be honest, when he stepped into the starting role, I didn't think that he was going to be as effective as he was. He comes from a fantastic school, Wisconsin, for offensive linemen. Big guy at 6'6". They list him at 308. Could be anywhere from 305 to 315. He's been a steady football player for us. I do have some concerns about the technique choices he makes in certain situations. He's caused a few problems, but by and large, he has done an exemplary job at the guard spot for us. I see some limitations a little bit in some of his athleticism. I'm not entirely sure that he will be able to command the value that he hopes to bring in. Now, let me put it into perspective a little bit. Deion Dawkins is in at about $20 million a year. That's your starting left tackle, $20 million a year. If you consider Spencer Brown, who just signed his extension, and he's averaging around $18 million a year. Now, these are your two tackles, $18 to $22 million a year for each tackle. The top 10 guards in the league are making north of about $17 million a year on average. So if you look across at Kansas City, Trey Smith, Landon Dickerson from Philadelphia, Chris Lindstrom at Atlanta, Robert Hunt at Carolina, Quentin Nelson at Indy, and Sam Cosmi at Washington. Those guys alone are, per my research, at $20 million and above average annual salary. Do you think that David Edwards can push into those kind of numbers? I don't think so. I don't think he is in the top 20 guards in the league. Now, currently, his salary is somewhere around, I don't know, about $4 million a year, right? 3.2, 3.5 in that range. Is he underpaid? By all means, I would say he's underpaid. Now, the question is, what does the market think that David Edwards is worth, right? So the Bills don't have to compete necessarily with the market if they believe that Alec Anderson can step in and play. If they think that Alec can step in and take over that role and perform to a level near what Edwards has been delivering over the past couple of years, then they don't have to do that. But in my mind, I don't see Edwards clocking in at above maybe around the 10 million mark. Now, even if it's at that number, can the Bills afford to do that? We just talked about this with Conor McGovern. Can you dedicate that kind of money for this position when you have definite needs on both sides of the ball, specifically on offense, looking at getting a wide receiver, number one position, on defense, looking at perhaps bringing in another edge rusher, another safety, or another linebacker? We have issues that we have to address, and dedicating money to David Edwards above and beyond the 10 million mark would be very hard to justify. And in my humble opinion, I think the Bills move on from Edwards. I think the amount of experience that Alec Anderson has, the athleticism that he has, he's shown great intellect. He's played all 5 positions on the offensive line. I think this is the time, after 3 years with the Buffalo Bills, having been under Cromer and now being under Pat Meyer, I think this is the time when Alec Anderson steps into that role. Now, what are the other options beyond Van Pran and Alec Anderson? You got Tylen Grable, who I think has some ability at the tackle position. Not certain about his interior ability at guard. I don't see him as a center. And then you have Chase Lunt. He'll be in his second year from UConn. Big guy, smart kid, typically a tackle, also can play the guard position. So I think the Bills have options. And I think dedicating the money that they're going to have at key positions for Josh Allen and for the new defensive coordinator is going to be a bigger push. So Jim Leonard's going to want some pieces on his side of the ball. We're going to want to look at a wide receiver one position for Josh Allen so we can make that push deeper into the playoffs. Those are my takes on Conor McGovern and David Edwards. Find me on X at John Fina. Hopefully you enjoyed this recording. If you did, share it. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe. Go back and listen to some of the great shows from Jerry. Zig Fracassi joins Jerry on 7 Days of Sunday. Anthony Marino does the walkthrough, which is a quick hit, typically before game day. But since there's no game day, Anthony just does a quick hit, which is great stuff. Sunday night is the Overreaction Buffalo podcast. I'm John, and I'm on the Sahlen's Off Tackle Show on Mondays. And don't forget, if you're a betting man, Dan Freddy on Mafia Bets. Dan's a professional gambler. He tells you how he's going to bet, and he shares his bets. He shares his success, and he spent 2025 doing a terrific job. Make sure if you're going to bet, you bet responsibly. Only bet with your discretionary money that you might lose. It's not for me, but if it's for you, use guidance and use the brake pedal if you need to. And if you have a problem with gambling, please seek help. Again, I'm John Fina. I went solo today. I hope you like my show. It's been great being here with you, Bills Mafia. Love you guys out there. I hope you're surviving the weather. And exciting time in Buffalo. We'll see what's coming next. We haven't rounded out any coaching positions other than offensive line on the offensive side of the ball. We still have some spots to fill on defense. And then it's going to be free agent palooza coming up. We got the draft. I know Jerry's doing some draft shows. It's going to be an exciting time. Make sure you hit me up on X. Find me on Instagram at JohnFina70. And thank you very much for joining me on the Sahlen's Off Tackle Show with John Fina on the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network. And as always, today, tomorrow, and always, go Bills.